Hey, what's going on with it once again? Bros, women, especially bronies and Pegasus, the one, the only, of course, Mr. Nintendo Sony Free 2011, aka Criticism Guide 2000, and of course, Nintendo Free, Nintendo Anime Manga Guide 360, excuse me. I'm back again with another video. One really small update to bring you. I was going to do that, like, top 5, best Pokemon theories video, but unfortunately, I didn't get time to do it, so tomorrow for sure, Tuesday, I will be definitely later on tomorrow, right after I get out of work and shit like that, and probably go to Wingstop or Buffalo Wild Wings. As soon as I'm done with those little tasks, I'll straight out come back home and get onto those theories. I already got the pictures and stuff ready to go. I still gotta, render a couple things out and shit like that. And if you're wondering why the quality is only up to like 480p instead of 720 or 1080p, I had to shorten it down a little bit. That's why it looks really, really tiny, the camera screen. So forgive me on that part. I couldn't really do nothing about that. So plus this thing's probably going to be almost an hour long. So if you want to leave now, I completely understand. With that out of the way, I got my drink of water. Just in case any people are wondering why I keep stopping and shit. So there's that. And yeah, without further ado, let's begin. So this fan fiction is called Matter of the Pride. Or A Matter of Pride. It was read by Goombasa and read by Scribbler. And then I'm Shadow007. I haven't talked about her in a long time, so shout out to that chick. I'm Shadow007. Emogak and DuskSpark. I don't know who they are, but oh, and just in case you people haven't noticed, I subscribed to a crap ton of a lot of My Little Pony Friendship is Magic. Like a lot of bronies out there. I've subscribed to a lot more new analysis people. I'm still gonna be talking about Pokemon, video game updates, cartoon conspiracy theories, anime. And then my fifth one I haven't done in a really long time, my top 10s, I'll probably try to bring that back again. So be on the lookout for that. I've been doing a lot more reaction videos too, so definitely be on the lookout for that. That's my newest edition. I've had it for about 3-4 months when I did my Killing Floor once. So yeah, my movie reviews and shit, they're still going to be in my criticism guide with my alternative media. That's on my criticism guide, and the 3 other ones are going to be in my criticism guide channels. And then my TCG openings, I'm still going to be doing that. I just can't do it until like the end of this month, so I have enough money to save up and shit. Alright, now I'm really done with the updates. Let's get this shit started. So this was from Goombasa. He's a really big YouTuber guy. He's about almost 1,000 subscribers. He's the one that wrote all this, and this is going to be an hour long, as you can tell. So I'm going to try to do a little dramatic reading. I don't have any special effect like Yeti Blue mics, no bullshit Adobe Premiere. I don't have any of that shit. I'm using a cheap-ass phone for that shit instead. So yeah, hopefully you enjoy this, and I'll put the link on the real video down below. And all the credit goes to this guy in Goombasa. I don't own anything. My Little Pony's from Hasbro and shit, DHX and the Hub. I don't own none of that at all. So let's get that shit cleared out. So please don't give me no copyright claim, YouTube, or strike. I'd highly appreciate that if you don't. Alright? And let's begin. After 3 minutes of wasting your time, let's really begin this thing. So, let me get a drink of water. I might have to split this into a 2-part video, maybe a 3-part as well. So, Master of Pride by Goombasa. Pain. That was all. That was all that she could focus on at the moment. The road ahead was wide, open and sprawling, and the well-traveled dirt path was as flat and easy as any traveler could hope for. The air was fresh and clean, and gentle summer breeze flittered past her face, caressing her, particularly begging her to stop and take in the beauty of that day. And before I keep going, this is the picture right here that she used. Really fucking cool shit right there. And yeah, let's go. And the beauty of the day. Okay. But she would not. She would not stop moving until she had found her way back and had gotten her revenge. She was the Queen Chrysalis, the leader of the Changelings. Well, former leader at least. Her mind pushed the pain. Her mind pushed past the pain of her injuries as she was forced back into the moment of candlelight. That moment of her greatest triumphant turned greatest failure. A single moment of ego, one small indulgence of her apparent victory. And it had all slipped away. But all because of them. Because of those main 6. Talking about the ponies, of course. Twilight, Pinkie Pie, Rainbow Dash, Arity, Applejack, and Fluttershy. All 6 of them. After she had been repelled out of Canterlot, her dream had quickly turned into a nightmare. The changelings that had survived, being flung to the borders of Equestria. Few that were there. were in no state to attack again. They had been patient, waiting to attack until the shield had been down, as she promised, waiting for their feast that laid within. Only a few had managed to feed before the expulsion. However, her forces that had survived, and when they saw her failure split to do whether or not they wanted to follow her anymore. More of her plans, more than half of those that left went to the that had opted out to plan to march on the home of the 6 who would have been foiled to their plans, figuring their chances of survival will be higher outside of the hive inside the nest. If she had saved the energy to waste, she would have crushed them all for such immunity. They would have had gotten far away. They wouldn't have had gotten far away, Their feeble minds wouldn't be accustomed to living outside of her influence. And it would be severe to them that right when they all shriveled up and died without their leadership to guide them. But as much as she would have loved to punish them for their insolence, she had neither the strength nor time. Her mind was preoccupied with thoughts of vengeance against the pastel pony who had led her to this. It didn't help that her entire body was racked out of pain as well. Her beautiful wings had been torn to shreds, skinned all the way down to nothing but the back, to her back, so that nothing but stumps remained. It had been almost a day before they stopped bleeding. And even now, she was sure, and still there were small patches of dried blood in her gnarled skin she had missed. She hadn't really been trying anything hard to keep herself clean and persistent. Okay. There goes that. And I lost my fucking thing. Hold on 1 second, people. Okay. Oh, there it is. After the coward, sorry for that long pause, people. I was looking for my way right there, where I left off. After the cowards have left, for those that were left, totaling a little under 100 strong, had begun forced march back in the direction of Equestria, more specifically Ponyville, the ugly little hovel which she would find her targets. Those 6 that would have loved that the love and the friendship that they had shared one another would have been so immense. Why she would not have drained them when she had the chance. All their friendship, all that love, it would have been would have fed her entire hive twice over. But no, she had wanted it all, and her little focus had been on the whole waves of Canterlot, and not just the 6 insignificant ponies. Alright, there goes that. Insignificant, eh? Not Canadian or nothing, I'm just saying. Shout out to you guys. You guys are awesome as shit. Okay. Alright. They hadn't been seemed so insignificant when they'd managed to actually ward off a small army of her changelings in the ultimately failed attempt at securing the elements of harmony. Her pride had been undoing. Her complete assurance that victory had already been secured, and that the world had become her oyster. Now, it was at that same pride that was forcing her to march onward, never halting, barely sleeping, working through her pain. She was no longer in danger of starving. Shining armor and that foolish creature had given her more than enough to live off for weeks. Yet she could march for as long as she needed to, even if it meant getting her vengeance. But what about her subjects? Only a day after their march had begun, they began to fall. One by one, they dropped from the air to the ground, dead, some from exhaustion, others from hunger, and then few from injuries that sustained during the expulsion. But she did not stop, and because she did not stop, neither did they. They all watched as numbers dwindled, as their companies fell to the ground. Some of them tried to struggle back to their feet, continue on. Not only to fall again. Her eyes were focused on the road completely, locked in the direction they were heading in. She noticed them, but she did not care. Her hive was already in shambles, and she would not waste a single minute. Alright, there it is. Alright, lost my fucking line again. Alright, there it is. Single minute. If it would have been drawn closer to her goal. After all, this is what their lot is in life. They were loyal to her as their queen. They were supposedly supposed to live and serve and die as she saw fit. True, reduced numbers would mean more difficult odds, but in her eyes, if they were weak enough to succumb before they had reached Sunibee, they would have just been more hindrance than an asset. Okay. So the march continued, day after day, with only the briefest of stops and the most meager of meals. The animals in the place that were semi-sentient. After all, the love was minuscule at best. But it was enough to at least keep those who were successful in their hunts to their feet. The queen pushed her subjects onward. Their numbers dwindled with every passing hour as more and more of the remaining changelings dropped like flies. But she did not care. Nothing mattered anymore. Nothing except revenge. Her thirst for it would be satisfied, and she would make them all suffer from the blow she had taken to her pride, her body, and her cold black heart. And she was close. She could feel it. She could smell it. The unmistakable sense of strong emotion convinced her they were. Friendship, love, kindness, magic. It's like My Little Pony Friendship is magic. Yada, yada, yada. It all blended into a cocktail that was a treat for any changeling. She was vaguely aware of the single minion hopping alongside her in a raspy voice that was very tired and a limp wing. She said, "Soon," she said, placing confident grip on her face as she glanced towards him down. And her wings on the lips. She said, soon. Alright. He raised his head and the insect drifting, there we go, up to meet her. Be careful, but careful not to look directly at her. Alright. He knew in his place as an underling. I said, "Yes, my queen, soon. All those pretty ponies shall pass." I'm trying to do my elegant fucking shitty Game of Thrones voice, so bear with me. "Shall pass for paying through the pummeling that they gave you. Indeed they will," she said, tossing her spidery mane back and uttering a cruel laugh, like the muhahaha, looking on Neocortex Crash Bandicoot, hashtag Crash Bandicoot, fucking come back, please. Alright, let's continue with the story. The first that she had given since being cast from Cancer Light. "You speak well, my little minion," and the alteration was quite nice touch. "You flatter me, your highness," he said, stopping in his movements temporarily to offer a gentle bow before trotting to stay at her side. He gave a caw, but quickly held it to keep it from looking in his weak queen's eyes. She nodded. Okay? After that, she nodded in contentment with him. He was an excellent changeling. He pushed past his weakness. He did not show any pain or hunger. He stood by his side. She would see that all the changelings like him would be well rewarded. She would see that they feasted upon the most emotionals of the ponies. The ones that had the most bottomless wells of love possible. But Trishalis would not settle for less than feasting on the most powerful, the most magical of them all. Twilight would be hers. And then, when she had consumed all the love and emotion that puny purple pony could offer, she would keep the husk as a trophy. Dang. A reminder to any of those who humiliated her would suffer the same fate. Celestia, Kading, shining armor. She would find and devour them all in due time. Her hooves were aching. She missed her wings, and her throat was dry. But she would not stop. She would remain strong. Then there was a final stretch. She let out a frantic heartbeat pace. She was let with the sound drawn out of her shuddering breath. Then she saw it. The first thing that comes into mind, the apple trees, dozens of them, perhaps hundreds beyond the path she was following. But they did not interest her. An apple would not stay her hunger. And when she had taken over this forsaken town, she would see that all that such useless things would be done away with. Wow, what a bitch. But she's awesome. I love Queen Trishula. She's a boss, besides Derpy and Pinkie Pie. Alright, that's just my personal opinion. Let's continue with the story. Okay. Then she saw the buildings. And of course the buildings with a few red ones looming out in the distance. A barn? Yes, most certainly is. This had to be that. Swept in acorns or whatever that southern girl had called it back in when she was in Canterlot. Not like it mattered anymore much, but bah. Such thoughts were not getting any closer in her goals. She smelled love, she smelled kindness, joy, and a buffet of other pleasant, succulent emotions. She paused her relentless march to sniff the air, and then attempting to ascertain the origins of the emotions she was sensing. For the first time she had ever begun to march, she was led off to an obvious path. Into the uniform rows of the sweet-scented trees around her, the soft grass might as well been fluffy clouds of how much relief it offered in the sore hooves. She savored the feelings and it gave her renewed strength to press onwards now that she was thinking of her goals. Soon her army again would swarm in a place of feast and leave in a desolate shell of what has been before anyone else. Even Twilight and her puny group of pony friends wouldn't do anything about it. A grin spread over her face, fangs glistened as her move for the shadow orchestrated. Then she saw them. Dun dun dun. Let me get my drink of water before I start this shit. Only 3 of them. While she would have preferred to destroy all 6 group, this was perfect opportunity. The number was split. There was a southerner, the apple farmer. It made sense for her to be there because this was something for her after all. The white one with the purple mane, the one I had been designing, or rather Cadence's wedding dress. She might have not cared for her pony self, but she had to admit the dress was very impressive on her. Had been quite impressive on her. And even if it was worn under false pretense. Excuse me. And then there was Twilight Sparkle, main alicorn of the year. I didn't say that, I'm just kidding. Of course she would be there in the 3rd. Oh, how could it get any more better than this, perfect than this? Her main target of the 2 compatriots by themselves, enjoying a little picnic. How delightful. She tended herself, arching her back, then leaning her head forward, spark of dark magic flickering from her horn, something that hadn't happened since she was a little filly. But before she learned how to properly control herself when her magical impulses, vengeance was at hand. To me, my changelings, she hissed out loud, our retribution is at hand. Swarm them there, and bring them to me. We shall feast upon their friendship. No response. Oh boy, now she's fucked. She frowned, ears raising as she lifted a familiar and hiss or buzz of her followers. She raised her hand up, not really her hand, her head up, relaxing and feeling a sense of dread slide over her, slowly, scaredly, willing to believe that she thought she craned her head. Behind her, there was nothing there, nothing but arches of apple trees, hazardous of hopeful guess, and she uttered, my changelings? And praying that they were merely there. No answer. Her deep green skin paled to a sticky shadow of her former hue, and her eyes rested on a single changeling hobbling towards her. The one that had spoken to her before, the one that she had praised for her strength and dedication. His pace was slow, and with every step was a careful and calculated as thought it could be his last. Those could be at last, excuse me. The way that he was breathing, his head low and his eyes dim, like a candle flame, ready to be snuffed out. She was certain that any exact step really could have been his last. His wings curled up in the back of his head to his plants curled up against his back. I'm having a hard time reading this. Like they were plants. Leaves that would be in the water and expanded, and the green turned to brown just before it fell off the branch. His slow shuffle ended as he stood before her. He attempted to bow but was unable to. It seemed that an angle had been bent his forelegs at least. He was in danger of toppling over. Do not worry, my queen. Tottering back and forth, he says, "I am here." I forgot to do that special effect voice line. I don't know how to do that. That's like some fucking Camtasia shit. She looked down at him, trying to hide the shock in her face. "Where are the others?" she asked. The changeling's dim eyes had lifted to meet hers. "Others?" he asked, surprised and confused by her question. "There are no others, my lady. They fell less than a day and a half ago." He began to lean to the left, catching him before he fell. "I was the strongest," he rasped, until he took a few deep breaths. He looked so tired, so small and frail. A simple touch from her hoof probably could have split him in two. "I'll fight them. I will bring them to you, I promise." He forced a note of enthusiasm in his voice in his tired voice. Her hand reeled. Only one. How had she not seen this? How had she been so blind? She remembered a good number of flying off in fear as she had begun to march back, but she still posed a hearty number of soldiers. At least she had. They have all died? She looked back by the way she came, expecting half of the trail of the bodies leading back to where she had started. But then again, there was nothing save for one lonely changeling that had stayed there with her for so long. He hobbled back and forth again towards the ponies and their picnic, but his hoof caught up against the ground, and he fell forward, face first. His body flopped and he lay there, his legs splaining outwards, his eyes snapped shut. Trishalus watched as he attempted to pull himself over in the back of his shoes, but he could not. He let out a few shuddering breaths and his legs shook from the strain. He was in no condition to continue, let alone get into a fight with 3 bearers of the elements of harmony at that. She drew closer to him, raising her hoof and placing it against his back. He shivered at the contact. She could feel his breast slowing. His pulse was so shallow. Exhaustion and hunger were taking over their toll on him. And she could see how it was. For the first time, she had began to warp. And she said it as she was dying. And I gotta go right now. I'll see you in part 2. Peace out, ladies. Goodbye. Bye, bronies and Pegasus. I will see you guys soon. All that good shit. Take care, and I'm out. See you later. Goodbye. Have a good one. I will see you in the next one. Take care.